My lieutenant governor, the LAPD police chief.
Jeez. Respectfully, not even respectfully. What was the lieutenant governor going to do? What was he going to do? What were they going to do? Why did you elect? What were they going to do?
So what would you have rather me done? I'm confused. You asked me.
Okay. I'm going to reclaim my time for you, Governor. Thank you. I just simply don't think, and I know it's a shock, but I simply don't think that you are qualified or competent enough to lead a state if you can't even alert federal authorities regarding what has happened within your state. You ask me what I want you to have done when I'm not even a constituent of your state, thank God. When I don't even live in your state, and
not too much on California. Not too much on California, but go ahead.
Oh no! I know California's a great state. They just have a bad person leading it. When you essentially ask me, do I have any suggestions on how to lead a state of which I don't live in? Asking me what I would want you to have done? This is a shame. What? So, I'm gonna ask this again. Why didn't you declare a state of emergency, deploy the National Guard in order to get these illegal weapons that have been sold to gangs and criminal thugs off the streets?
I mean, I answered the question, but I suppose you want a different answer, so I'm going to give that to you. I simply did not think to do that in that moment, Senator. Okay, and however, I do regret not doing that in that moment, and I do regret the fact that lives were lost.
The senator's time.
First of all, you can lose the attitude, and second of all,
the senator's time there will be order in this chamber. The senator's time has elapsed. Does any other senator wishes to seek the floor?
Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Okay, good evening, Miss DuPont. Do you understand the ramifications if you're found in contempt of Congress?
I do.
Okay, what are they? Okay, since you don't know how to answer it, one of those ramifications can include we slapping some cuffs and walking you down the road and putting you in a cell. So unless that's where you want to be, I advise you to let up and start answering these questions clearly and concisely. Because I've sat here and I've tried to get a sequence of events. 3 senators have spoken and asked questions to you, and I still don't know the course of events of, what occurred. You claim your husband was out of the country. You said you talked to the LA mayor and the lieutenant governor, as if the lieutenant governor is the attorney general and the chief law enforcement officer of your state. Maybe they are. Let me know, tell me something. So my question to you is, can you walk me through the course of events of this mess? From the time that you first found out about it. I want to know how you found out about it. I want to know if you knew about it before the press did and before the press revealed it to the public. So walk me through this mess.
Okay, so when it originally occurred, I was briefed. I encouraged my team to make a statement. And I knew that I had to begin taking the necessary steps to, this. And the day in the day
right there. So did you know before the press or after the press? Before the press or after the press? I have 5 minutes. We're pressed for time. Before the press or after the press?
The governor is reminded to ask the question. I will give you your time back, Senator.
Before or after?
After.
Oh.
Yeah,
Let me
wait.
sit around in my chair. Okay, so my staffer has just printed me some tweets that I want to read You're done. I have no more questions for you, so I'm going to use the rest of my time to talk and speak my mind. So one of my good friends and colleagues from Georgia's 14th district has said, this our social reject and excuse of a governor's lying before a Senate committee, even after being sworn in. Kristen DuPont, the American people want leaders who know how to lead, not a feckless, too heavy transgender cosplaying as a woman in DNC chair. So the she-male wife of the president is claiming she was unable to reach his husband. Oh my, what an interesting relationship dynamic. Both the husband and the president are bold-faced liars. Recall, recall, recall. The speaker has said Kristen DuPont is a filthy liar and is just a disgusting individual who is a criminal. Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And I'm going to end this off by saying that I will be submitting a resolution to do just that. Clankly clanked, Governor. You're going to jail. And I'm going to recommend that the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia recommends a sentence of 12 months. So within that 12 months, maybe you can write letters to your constituents and explain to them how these cops got killed and how these weapons ended up on the streets of California. With that, I reserve my time. Thank you.
The senator reserves his time. The last senator to speak is Senator Cayden. Do you have any questions?
I think we've heard enough of this.
Senator Cayden.
I think we've heard enough from this claptrap.
Well, seeing no further questions for said witness, I will allow the witness to step down and be dismissed. While we do thank you, I am deeply disgusted with your remarks for today, and I will, as a California resident and as the senator from California, be signing the petition for you to get recalled, be signing the petition for you to take your ass to jail, and be signing the petition for you to resign because your actions are disgraceful. We did not have to lose 12 hard-working officers due to your negligence, due to your incompetency, and due to you failing to do your job as a governing member of said state. We, as the people of California, are deeply disappointed.
Recall.
And I will never in a million years call you a governor again. You're dismissed. Get out of my committee room.
Ooh, bye-bye.
Next on the list, we have Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. Would you please not come up to the stand, but would you please stand? Not stand, but sit. You understand. Are you ready, Secretary Rumsfeld? Are you here? Senator, Secretary Rumsfeld, are you here?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here.
You're fine. You're fine. Thank you. It's now time for your questioning. I have already sworn you in, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and recognize myself for 5 minutes to ask you questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I remind you that you're under oath, and we just had a lying, filthy governor sit up here and lie to us. So we're not playing around. All righty. Timer starts now. Secretary Rumsfeld, as the head of the Department of Defense, how do you justify the illegal shipment of weapons to a private group without proper authorization or even oversight? And how did these weapons go from the state of Pennsylvania all the way to L.A., then from L.A. to Compton, California?
Right. That's a great question. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. The Defense Criminal Investigation Service is investigating this to the fullest extent alongside the DOJ and FBI. Today I have spoken with the director of the FBI. As to how the authorization was given, my recollection, by the DCIS, they have confirmed that it was signed off by me. Apparently, my signature was forged onto a piece of paper that gave the orders to. I would go in more on this, but it would breach national security. So I would have to request a closed session of the committee to speak more on that part. But Further than that, I do believe, and alongside the FBI, believe my signature was forged onto the piece of paper, signed off on those orders by my former chief of staff, Maya Jackson, whom was fired for. Oh, excuse me. I'll get into that as the questions come.
Mhm. So, do you accept responsibility for the failure of oversight within your department that allowed this operation to proceed without you being notified?
I do take responsibility because as the chief of the Pentagon and the head of the Department of Defense, I am responsible for everything that goes on inside of my department, and I do take blame for this. There should have been more countermeasures to prevent such actions from happening.
Yes, and I have a question because I've been in the Pentagon a few times. So around it, don't you need a key card to get in certain offices and said places?
Yes, as said before, at the time when the orders were signed, Maya Jackson was still employed inside the Department of Defense and had access
Yes.
to pretty much almost every room because she was my chief of staff. Her national security clearance was very high at the time, so she did have access to those rooms and more.
So you're saying that this is the actions of Maya Jackson, correct?
I will. Well, personally, I will say that I do believe. Professionally, I would say I would wait for the FBI to come back with a full comprehensive report alongside the DCIS. And once they do, I will make sure that it gets to the desk and out into the public for everyone to view.
Thank you. I'm going to yield the senator from Pennsylvania, Mr. Belair, a minute. Go ahead, Senator.
Hello, Secretary. Were you sleeping with Maya Jackson?
No, I have not been in with any other woman since my wife passed away in 2000.
So you expect
I
me
am
to
not
believe
remarried.
from 2000 to 2020, that's 20 years that you haven't had any sexual relations with any woman. Are you a homosexual?
Well, my wife was my one love, and once she
Got it.
passed away, I
Got
have
it. Are
not.
you homosexual?
I am not homosexual.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Senator. Reclaim my time, my last minute here. My next question is going to be: has the Department of Defense started an internal investigation into this matter? And if so, what has been some of the findings that you guys have found? And are these findings going to be made public to the American people?
Well, yes, as I previously stated, the DCIS, which is the Department of Criminal Investigation Service, they have started their internal report alongside the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General. I have distanced myself away from that investigation, putting one of my undersecretaries in charge, my deputy secretary to be exact, and he will provide the
Yes.
he will overhead the investigation as it goes on. I have I will, as I stated before, I will make sure all information is made public to the American people
Yes.
to view once the full investigation comes out.
Yes. Where did they get these where did this $8.3 million worth of weapons come from? Do you know?
Uh, to say exactly where they came from, it could be a variable. It could be a variable amount of places. The Department of Defense has
Yeah.
uh, multiple bases with stockpiles of weapons. So I will have to wait for the investigation to come back to figure out where exactly they came from, and I will send that over to you once it is made known.
Thank you, Secretary. That is my time. My time has elapsed. I will now recognize the ranking member for his questioning.
Don't have any questions. Thank you. I don't have any questions right now, so I'm gonna yield to. I'll just yield back to the chair.
The gentleman yields back to the chair. I will now recognize the senator from Pennsylvania, Kenneth Belair.
Thank you. 5 minutes, new 5 minutes. So when did you become aware of the illegal sale of these weapons?
Where when everyone else was made aware, actually, because it happened without my knowledge. So whenever it did happen, that's when I found out. So I was equally surprised whenever it did happen.
Okay. Did the governor of California, think to send or tell her husband to tell you that something, we may have illegal weapons out on the street that came from the Department of Defense?
I do not recall any situation that did happen between me and the governor. Can't speak any more on that considering it didn't happen.
Oh, okay. So what role, if any, did your office play in proving the illegal sale of these weapons?
Can you repeat the question for me?
What role, if any, did your office play in approving the illegal sale of these weapons?
Well, as stated before, my signature was forged, so it did come from the order came from my office, apparently, which was
Did it or
received
did
as
it not?
on my
I don't like words like apparently. I need to know if it happened or not. We're talking about police officers being killed. We're talking about
Yep.
Department of Defense breaches. You know, this is not something that we toss around like hot potato.
Yes, which I was getting to. The order came from my office. Yes, I will say it came from my office, considering my name was on the paper.
Right.
Did I
And
sign
you
it? No, I
said your
didn't.
signature was forged. Who was it
Yes,
forged
it
by?
was forged. The only other person that has access to my signature to master it would be the my former chief of staff, Maya Jackson, who worked with me very closely for 6 years.
Interesting. Um, so if we were to bring in a forensic handwriting examiner, they would clear you, from this situation, correct?
I would uh I would suppose yes, because I didn't write it, and I could be clear from it.
Okay. I hope you
Since
didn't.
I have not seen the document yet, so
Okay, so to prevent things, because I'm sure people try these things, all the time. So what measures does the Department of Defense have in place to combat situations like this from happening?
we usually actually I cannot get into that in this open committee hearing meeting.
So are
It's a matter
there
of
there policies against it?
there is policies against it, and policies were broken.
Mm. I believe the number stands at 12. 12 members of law enforcement were killed. How does that make you feel?
It upsets me. My brother was in law enforcement. Um, I know the risk that he took to become law enforcement, and it's hurt my heart to see the victims and their families be traumatized by this attack. And I promise to comply fully with the federal government and FBI to make sure that this never happens again.
Do you think that the First Lady and Governor of California handled this situation well?
I won't comment on specifically that, but I feel like it could have been handled better. I have reached out to her to offer military support, anything they might need. So that's that.
Interesting.
And I have
So if push came to
I
shove, would you how do I want to word this? Do you operate in the interest of the president or what's good for the American people?
I operate with the American people and interest.
Interesting. I have nothing else. I reserve the balance of my time.
The senator reserves the balance of his time. Does any senator wish to speak? Alrighty, I'm going to give myself 2 minutes really quick because I just have a few more questions, and you can call them clarification questions. Because Secretary, this incident, I'm just bedazzled. I think that's the word. Because yesterday when the Attorney General came before us, I keep on asking the same question about how could this happen under his watch. Maybe I should be not. Maybe I should have been directing that towards you. So you claimed that you claimed in the questions asked by Senator Belair that you only found out about the illegal weapons shipments after everyone else did. So you found out when the media did. Mind you, you're the Secretary of Defense. You are the head of one of the greatest military powers in the world. and you did not have knowledge that a shipment sale of $8.3 million worth of weapons went unnoticed from two different points in the country, from Pennsylvania all the way to California, and then from Los Angeles all the way to Compton. There was no alerts. How could this significant operation occur without your knowledge when, as you have said, it may have been your chief of staff doing it? How could this happen under your leadership, Secretary?
Well, there are some parts in there that I won't get into because it's a matter of national security, and I'll address that in a closed meeting. But I can say that when it did happen, it was not when my signature was forged. It was not made aware to me, so I did not have any knowledge that
So is
the
there
papers were signed and the orders were
so
sent.
Secretary, is there no okay, so if I just go get a paper and sign your name on it and then just give it to somebody, I'm confused. How could somebody just write your signature down? Just somebody, your chief of staff, just write your signature down and approve the authorization. Wouldn't that alert other people?
Well, okay. Excuse me. I have this question. I have to formulate a response without breaking national security. Excuse me. All right. So whenever I send a paper out, it is sent directly to the combatant commander or the director or whoever it needs to go to, and those orders are executed because, after all, I am the Secretary of Defense, Chief of the Pentagon. Questions aren't really asked from whenever I send papers in; they get done without question. And so, whenever my signature is seen on a paper, no one second guesses it because it came from the Secretary of Defense.
My next question is going to be, I'm trying to say this without, because I don't want to be mean, and I understand your position here. If it really was you, I would hope, you've been serving for a long time, and you're innocent until proven guilty. But wouldn't you say that this is a department failure from the Department of Defense, that somebody with just any clearance as high as your department chief of staff, as clearance as high as clearance, because there's multiple people with clearance as high as your chief of staff, wouldn't you say this was a department failure? And then second to that question is, has the president met with you or anything about relating to this incident?
Yes, I have met with the president, and in all honesty, I would call this a department failure. Yes, it is a department failure. The fact that this happened under my nose and without my knowledge is very troubling.
Yes.
And the fact that it caused these deaths affects me very hard. It affects America.
Given your admission that you found out later than everybody else, do you believe that this was a failure? You already said it was a department failure. Do you believe this was a failure of the United States government to protect and defend its citizens?
I will say this. Department of Defense is a major component of the government. Lots of things happen in here, and I understand that it may seem like it's a full government failure, but it is not. This is more solely on the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security. We have to do better. I agree, and the fact that this happens is
Which
very
leads
troubling.
me to my next question of, do we have a Secretary of Homeland Security?
No, we do not. The last one was released by the president. He has been in search for one ever since.
And so we don't have a secretary. Do we have a Secretary of Treasury?
Not to my knowledge. No, we don't.
When was the last held cabinet meeting?
I can pull it up for you right quick. Give me a second.
February.
It was actually very recent. Excuse me. No, it wasn't. So we're scrolling up. We met on the 2nd. We met. Well,
right.
in real life on the second minute.
On a second. Alrighty. So I want to thank you for your testimony here today. It was very revealing, very revealing. So I'm going to yield my questioning time. Does any other senator have any questions for the testifier? Going one, Senator Lord, Senator Lennox.
I do not.
I
Have
have
any
no
questions.
questions.
Fabulous. Do you have any comments, Secretary Rumsfeld, that you would like to offer to this committee?
At this time, I have no comments.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no further questions to you, you are dismissed. I want to thank you for your willingness to comply with all questions that we have had to ask you today. And I may have to, you may be contacted in the future so we can hold a closed door committee hearing to figure out, where we went wrong when it comes to national security and how this incident can never, ever, ever happen again. So thank you, Secretary Rumsfeld. You are dismissed. Vice President Alexander.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I did not get to swear you in earlier today because you wasn't here. It was to my knowledge that you were busy. So if you could please stand as I swear you in. Alrighty. May you please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge and information in belief, so help you God?
So help me God, I do.
You may give your opening statement to this committee, Vice President Alexander.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. First off, I would like to tell you all I do have my wonderful counsel here, Counsel Jack Smith, who's here with me during this time. Anyways, let me move on. Wonderful statement. Chairman Johnson, members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I come before you with a steadfast commitment to uphold the Constitution, serve the American people with transparency and cooperation fully with this committee's effort. The issues under examination are of significant importance to the Senate, the executive branch, and the nation as a whole. It is my belief that the dialogue is a cornerstone of our democracy, ensuring that the principles of accountability, fairness, and justice remain central to our governance. As Vice President, I've taken an oath to faithfully execute my duties with integrity and fidelity to the law of this great nation. I'm here to provide clarity and context to the matters under review, and I trust that this proceeding will reflect and shared goals of advancing the truth while respecting the boundaries of confederately and national security. I will approach today's session with honesty and a genuine willingness to engage in constructive discourse. My hope is that we can work together to find a resolution that strengthens public trust and reinforce the foundation of our democratic institution. I look forward to answering your questions and providing the necessary information to aid in your inquiries. Thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm not going to recognize myself for 5 minutes to deliver questions or remarks to said testifier beginning now. Vice President Alexander, I would like to make it clear that I am your running mate, but right now I'm going, and this is no disrespect to you, but I will be separating my relationship to you, and I'll be inserting a relationship as the chairman of this committee so we can find the truth. My first question is to you, and it's going to be, and it's no disrespect to you or the president, but you have showed up. You have not invoked executive privilege. Can you explain why the president hasn't shown up? Will you comment on anything relating to the president and him not showing up? And where is the president of the United States? And if the president doesn't show any action, will you be a commanding force in invoking the 25th Amendment if the president does not do his job?
Well, first off, I'm going to say this. The president's business is none of mine to be concerned, if he's especially meeting with the national leaders. He's on an official business trip in India. No comment on the rest. And I'm here to show transparency and clarity for the American people, for them to see that I'm here to answer your questions best of my ability and to provide a.
Vice President Raymond, with due respect, you aren't here just to show transparency. You have a moral and ethical obligation to show up before this committee to answer questions that Americans and we as senators and elected officials have for you. So I'm going to ask you this question. You have been you have one of the largest levels of leadership in this administration. Can you explain, since the president obviously won't explain, can you explain how such a major incident, illegal weapons shipments to a private gang, could happen under this administration's watch without anybody's knowledge?
Indeed. Give me one moment.
Indeed, what? The job site?
No, I was about to go. Thank you.
Clankety clank.
Bye. Anyways, the way that this situation has occurred was honestly surprising to me. There should have been no reason why this event should have happened. There should be no reason why.
So why did it happen, Mr. Vice President?
Due to the failure of our national security, due to the failure of our border patrol agents within the northern border, the United States and Canadian border.
This administration has been in office for about 4 years, correct?
Indeed.
And, this happens towards the closing, you could say closing of this administration, seeing that President DuPont isn't running for re-election. So we know that President DuPont isn't running for re-election. And excuse my language, committee, but seeing that he's not running for re-election, he has this I don't really give a F what happens to me face on. And I believe that you're just standing by and allowing him to act like this. So what actions are you planning to take as Vice President of this United States of America, as second Commander-in-Chief of one of the largest militaries in the world? What will you do as Vice President if the President continuously fails to show up? We just had 12 officers and citizens die. We have a gang with military-grade weapons, and the President is out flying, and traveling the world? What is going on in the White House?
Well, first off, as Vice President, I took an oath on day one to defend and support the Constitution of the United States against enemies all foreign and domestic. If the President doesn't do his job correctly, then I will have no choice but to invoke the 25th. As much as I don't want to do that.
Okay, thank you. The President has fled the country. He's gone. He was just here. The President was literally just in Michigan. Me and you just came back from Michigan. The President literally spoke at the rally. So if the President of the United States can speak at a political rally but refuse to show up before a committee, what does that tell you, Vice President?
That he is not ready. He does not want to do the job right now.
Okay, and so if he does not want to do the job right now, what does that lead for you to do?
Well, we're going to take action, and that action.
And what is that action?
Well, first we're going to open up an investigation on the President.
No, this is the investigation.
Well, hold on. We're going to open up an investigation on the President regarding what he was doing, and then after that, if things have been found that he's been incompetent, if not able to do his job, then we will move forward with getting signatures from the cabinet and signing, invoking the 25th on the President.
I have no further questions. So I'm going to use my time. I recognize the ranking member, his statement, his question.
I can't say. Okay, hush. I'm at a loss, honestly. So you just suggested we look into the President. Is that right, Mr. Vice President?
Indeed.
So you also suggest possibly even invoking the 25th Amendment. Is that correct?
Indeed, indeed, if necessary.
Okay, great. So let me just let you know this: the 25th Amendment is the removal of the President.
Of course.
Right. So you've suggested these things. Would you also suggest impeachment from the House?
If deemed necessary, then yes, I am here. Like I said, I'm here to do my job.
So what do you clarify as necessary? I know that's... Go ahead, just answer that.
What I mean by necessary, that means if it needs to be done, then it shall be done without hesitation. I have a job to do, just like the President, just like any other person of Congress who is in government. We have jobs to do. And if we can't do it, then we must remove that said person out of office effective immediately.
So, you made me forget what I was going to say. So you're saying that the president isn't doing his job?
At the moment, no, he is not.
Oh. Wow. Okay. And why do you say that?
From my understanding, the situation could have been dealt with quickly and effectively if our border patrol agents or our Secretary of Homeland Security, hopefully we'll have one soon, I don't know at this point, were to have notified the president or even the Secretary of Defense regarding this transaction or regarding all this stuff that has been happening, honestly.
So you're running for president. Assume you were the president and this is your last year in your first term. What would you have done differently?
Oh, effective immediately close down the border. There's no discussion about that. Because let's just say if that event just happened, let's say that was what, $8.3 billion or $1 million worth of military graded weapons that just got into America. Who knows how much more would have gotten in by this time? Who knows? There's probably still more. There's more flowing in here right now. So what I would have closed down the border. I would have definitely checked, make sure that every vehicle that has been checked in America came over from the northern border and the southern border to be checked and swept through. Make sure they have not carried in any illegal weapons that have been.
Okay. So you're saying you would have shut down the border immediately. Did you advise the president to do so?
Shut down the border? No, I did advise him on the situation when I was notified, which was when everyone else was notified on the news. This was when I was on Air Force 2. I was coming back from a small campaign rally in Dayton, Ohio.
So, wait. So did you advise the president to close the border?
I did. Yes, I did take action. Yes, I did contact him and other members of the National Security Council.
Okay, so wait a minute. Hold on now. The guns did not come from across the border. They came from America. But anyways,
Blank.
Anywho, so you advising the president, what was his response?
He did not give me a response from last time we talked. He did not give me that response I was looking for. Yeah.
So what was his? You said that you were looking for. So did he not give you one at all, or was it?
No. He was busy dealing with international problems.
So he ignored your advisement.
Some ways, yes and no, but I'm not the one. I can't control where the president wants to take upon whose advice.
The senator's time. I'm sorry. The senator's time. Hold on. The senator's time has elapsed. The senator from Louisiana has 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Mr. Vice President, I have a couple questions for you. So my first question is: were you ever yourself directly notified of what was happening regarding the weapons sale?
No, not until I was in the air after that small rally in Dayton, Ohio. On the news, my staffer notified me what was going on, and I notified the National Security Council, and I started to ask the FBI director and other congressional leaders to start looking into this as well.
And my next question to you is: during all of during this fiasco, I'm going to call it fiasco because it is. During this, where was the president?
To my terminology, he was overseas once again handling international business.
Okay. So, from what I'm hearing, while the president was off dilly-daddling in Europe or wherever he was, the vice president was acting as more like a president. Okay. So, my next question to you is: during this time, of which there was such, like I said before, a fiasco happening within the government, people trying to figure out where these weapons come from, trying to figure out this, that, and the third. Before that, did the 25th ever come across your mind?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
during which the time the president was overseas and you were trying to handle things here at home, did the 25th ever come across your mind?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. And so while this is still going on, the president is still overseas, is that right?
No, he just made it back here a few hours ago.
Could the senator yield me just 20 seconds?
Seize.
Okay, I give the senator from California 20 seconds.
All right, so the president did come back. He came back for your rally, correct?
Indeed.
And then following that, the president, my staffer just handed this to me. The president went on Twitter to respond. He said, "I'm on my way to India now." So when you say this is the president fleeing the country,
I'm sorry, what?
the president literally just announced as he came back from Michigan that he was now on his way to India. Wouldn't you agree that this is the president fleeing from his duties?
Sadly, yes.
I yield back to the senator from Louisiana.
Thank you. And I just want to ask a few more questions. So the president has all these, diplomatic events lined up. Why is he not focusing on domestic issues when he has a nation that is in peril?
To be honest, I do not know. I cannot give you an answer on that.
Okay. And my next question.
Can the gentleman yield for a 30-second
Y'all
question?
hurry up. I got something to say.
Hold on. I yield the senator from Louisiana, Mr. Lennox, 30 seconds.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, would you say the president is running from the American people?
I would say running, more like he's trying to do his other presidential job.
Doesn't he have the obligation to the American people first?
And
There will be order. There will be order in this committee.
Time. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
There you go. You have a minute and 19 seconds left.
Ooh, thank you. I got to speed through this. So, Mr. Vice President. So, the president is going from, I assume Ireland is what I've been hearing, Ireland to Michigan for your rally and back to India. So, my question is, have you yourself tried to stand up to the president and say, hey, you have this, and pardon my language for this, Mr. Chairman, you have this shit going on in your house, in your home, and yet you're going to go visit someone else's house. Why don't you stay home and deal with the issues you have?
Indeed, I have voiced my opinion to the president and told him what he should be doing.
And what has he said?
He said he'll take into consideration and he will think upon it, and I'll be pleading the fifth on that statement.
This committee will be in order.
So I know how much time I have left, so I'm just going to use it to just So what we've seen so far is that the president...
The senator's time has elapsed.
Of course, thank you.
The senator from Pennsylvania, Kenneth Belair, is recognized.
That was just a clip. It said they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. The backstabbers. You mean to get up here and convince us that you are just so against President Carlos DuPont when he was just at your rally, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago speaking? I knew it was a mess when somebody was walking out to Tupac, and then you yourself walking out to Alicia Keys. And you know what that reminded me of? You know what Alicia Keys is? She's a thief. She's a thief. She took a married woman's husband. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to take Carlos DuPont's job before you can get out. And what you fail to realize is that you're just digging yourself in a deeper hole. You claim you have this bootleg counsel by the name of Jack Smith that nobody has heard of, and he has yet to advise you on anything. You would have did better invoking your Fifth Amendment from the very start. Yet you got in here and started just digging, kept digging. Would have thought you were a gardener. Kept digging. Digging. And you're about to dig yourself right into a hole. And you're about to dig yourself right down the street in a jail cell if you keep going the route that you're going. Where's the president? Answer me that.
He is currently on Air Force One. on
Going where?
going out of the nation to Europe
Where?
from what I don't know. That's from what I'm
He ain't told you no country because apparently he's going to India. What the hell is
That's
in
enough
India?
questions. That's enough questions. We're leaving.
What? First of all, Jack Smith, we don't know who you are.
There
Where
will be
you came
order
from.
in this
You
committee.
Sit down. I'm
There
not
will
talking.
be order in this
I'm
committee.
not
If the
talking to
vice,
you. You'll
go
be
ahead.
next. You'll be next, Kankly Clank. You'll be next. I suggest
What does
you
that mean?
shut up like you've been shutting up. So, Mr. Vice President, where's the president headed?
to Indiana.
Indiana. I thought you just said he's heading out the country.
Well, from what you told me, I have not been briefed on where the
Said
president.
India.
That's
Is
enough
it India or
questions.
Indiana?
India,
Who?
India. Yes, India. Sorry,
Do you know what perjury is?
plead the fifth.
Do you know what perjury is? You should have pleaded the fifth before you answered Indiana.
Give me one moment. I have an IRL family emergency.
We
Uh,
will
it's-
leave.
Oh, the vice president.
Irrelevant.
Clinkety clank.
The vice president has left the chamber. The Senate. This committee will be in order. This committee will be in order.
Move. Contempt
The
of
vice
Congress for you.
president. The
Okay,
vice
I would like
president.
to
Go ahead.
reclaim that. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that, he did have a family emergency, yet that account is still online. All I can do is laugh. The vice president might have just tanked his whole presidential run. You see what 20 minutes of just talking out of your ass gets you? It causes you to write a check that your ass can't cash. And that's what he just did. Bankrupt, no money in the bank. I reserve the rest of my time.
The senator reserves.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. Senator Caden, did you have something to say? Alrighty. Senator Lennox.
I just have
Oh,
a quick
he
something
didn't?
to say.
Hold on. Mr. Chairman.
The senator.
Yes, I will use the rest of my time. And I want to just speak to the American people. This is why you need to know who you pick to be your running mate. Because as you can see, this man flipped on somebody who virtually gave him a flat platform. He spoke great of his character. He was the running mate. He was the partner in crime.
Looks at Kevin.
Oh, he's talking about Carlos, not me. I don't think.
Yeah, I know.
Carlos. I'm talking about Carlos and Hunter. Raymond.
Yeah.
Raymond Alexander. You see how fast
Mr.
somebody
Chairman,
flipped
I'll
on
go
you?
ahead.
Flipped like a coin. Flipped like a coin. And I'm going to leave you off with this quote by Kelly Price. I feel success coming up against you, but I also feel lots of opposition. There's some people in your circle that saying that they're your friend, but they talking against your future. Learn. And to Matt Weston, I hope you're also taking notes and checking those notes twice. Because if you are elected president, we don't want this type of behavior happening all over again. Thank you. I reserve.
Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman reserves. Sorry, this is a very emotional time. The senator, Derek, is recognized.
Thank you. I just have 7 words to say for the vice president. It goes a little something like bippity boppity boo, contempt of Congress for you. I reserve.
Did the gentleman yield?
I did.
The gentleman has yielded. Does any other senator wishes to speak? Alrighty, we have one last testifier. We have one last testifier for tonight. The senator from Pennsylvania, Charles Brown. So, Senator, I'm going to just read you in here. Governor, sorry, not senator. I'm at a loss for words right now. I'm truly shocked about what just happened, and disappointed actually. But I'm going to swear you now. Give me 1 second. I get this. Okay. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and beliefs? So help you God.
So help me God.
Thank you. I will now recognize myself for 5 minutes to question said witness. Governor, when did you become aware that the weapons were traveled through the state of Pennsylvania?
The day it was announced, the second it was announced to the news.
And what action did you take following that?
Immediately after the announcement, I consulted with the Attorney General of the state and the Secretary of Transportation to begin gathering records. I directed the Attorney General to begin cooperation with the Federal Bureau of Investigations. But I have yet to reach out to the federal government, and yet the federal government has yet to reach out to me.
So there has been no coordination between you or the White House?
Negative. If I call the White House, my call will decline.
Has the president reached out from you?
No.
Reached out to you? Has the vice president reached out to you?
He's on the campaign trail. Of course not.
Has anybody from the federal government reached out to you?
They know.
Have you reached out to the government?
I have not.
Have you asked for help targeting gangs within the state of Pennsylvania?
No, because this isn't a problem that we have in Pennsylvania. This is a problem that the federal government has given us.
And so, you kind of ate that. Oh, okay. So I guess my last question to you would be, I'm just wondering, so when was anybody notified of, like, for example, like, when there's drug, as a former district attorney of California, my law enforcement officers were usually notified, like, hey, there's a drug deal going down somewhere, we have to bust it. Did any of that happen? Were there any communications between law enforcement and the state of Pennsylvania?
We have thousands of joint task force with the federal government that are supposed to alert us when illegal immigrants enter my state, when drugs enter my state, when guns enter my state. Yet, the federal government lacked to take action on any of these. The vice president failed, people died. The secretary failed, people died. The governor, the excuse for a governor of California lied, and people died. And the president of the United States, on his trip to Indiana, hell, wherever he's going, has let people die. My people are scared. That's the hardcore truth here. My people are scared. I'm scared for them because, hell, we don't know what's coming next. Los Diablo might be coming to my governor's mansion and shooting it up.
Right.
Who knows?
That's right.
Listen, I fear for my safety. I fear for the safety of the senator from Pennsylvania. I fear for the safety of all Americans. The president and vice president fear for their political careers.
Alrighty, thank you for that. And this is my last question. My last question to you is, my office has just became aware of comments made by the governor of California, and it was from her official campaign office. The comments were, "Fuck FAWK Pennsylvania."
Well, let me be crystal clear. I don't give. Let me maintain professionalism. I don't care if you give 2 fucks, 3 fucks, 4 fucks. 5
There will be order
about
That's
this.
right.
Let me be clear. I'm the governor of Pennsylvania. I'm the principal chief executive of all people in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm not a Republican governor. I'm not a Democratic governor. I am the governor. I'm not a transgender. I'm a man. I'm a Republican, a proud conservative, and even more proud American. I'm proud to be the governor of this state. I don't know about your shithole across the way, but here in Pennsylvania, we have law and order. You allowed officers to die. You allowed citizens to die. And you sleep in the bed with a murderer. 23 citizens are dead. 12 law enforcement officers are dead. And you sit here and talk about the state of Pennsylvania. You have a surplus. You have a budget that can fill 3 countries in Europe. But yet, we fuck us. Right. This state is governed by the best. I'm only an interim governor, and I've done more than you have your entire political career. Yet you sleep in a bed, again, with a murderer, a liar, a cheater, a rapist. That's what you sleep in the bed with.
Oh,
So not fuck Pennsylvania, not fuck California. No, fuck you.
Oh, there will be order. There will be order in my committee room. Thank you, Governor. I don't have any further questions for you. Does any other senator, Mr. Ranking Member?
What a day it has been. James cleared on that. I mean, Charles cleared on that. I hope the people hearing this on C-SPAN, I hope the people hearing this are waking up. When this is on Fox News, Newsmax, ABC, MSNBC, ABD, and whatever it's on, come tomorrow morning, I hope people wake up and understand what we're doing here and what some people don't need to be doing here. So I'm going to leave it at that. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Mr. Chair,
the gentleman.
If the committee would allow me, I just have these brief words if there are no other questions for me.
Is there any other questions for the witness? I would assume no. Go ahead, Governor.
I have this to say. Our nation is in chaos, and we're worried about an election. We're worried about a campaign in Michigan. We're worried about making sure the polls look right. We're worried about everything but the quality of life of the American people. That's the issue in America today. The president has let these radicals come into our nation, steal our job, kill our children, take our guns from the Department of Defense, and has yet to fire the secretary and hold him accountable. Today, I apologize to the American people and even more the citizens of Pennsylvania. We failed you. I say we because I'm a government official. I failed you. The president of the United States failed you. The dictator of California failed you. That's where we are in America today. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Chairman, if you know what's right for the American people, leave the campaign with Raymond Alexander and remain in the Senate. He does not need to be president right now. If he wanted the presidency, I can guarantee you tomorrow morning a 25th Amendment would be invoked. He needs to resign. The president needs to be resigned. And Mr. Johnson, you need to hop off the campaign trail.
Thank you for those remarks. Governor, I thank you for your testimony here today. You may be contacted in future for a closed door hearing. The witness testifier may step down. That was our last testifier, so give me 1 second. All senators' time has elapsed. This concludes today's hearing. Thank you to our distinguished testifiers and testifiers for participating. Without objection, members will have 5 legislative days to provide additional written questions to the witness or something to be added to the record. We will now move to a period of closing comments and statements, and I will recognize the ranking member to go first. Senator Lennox.
Oh, that is me. Today has been a very eye-opening day. We were told a lot of, actually no, we weren't told a lot of truths. We were told a lot of lies. And no, I didn't. But we a lot of lies today. And we are grown adults here. So it is upsetting that we can't act like that. I do somewhat kind of thank all the testifiers that came before and who didn't run to India, Indiana, Timbuktu, or Santa's butt crack. I thank those who were actually able to come and sit in front of us today. But moving forward, you, Mr. Chairman, you have a lot of decisions to make. Us as a committee have a lot of decisions to make. And polls are looking are going a very different direction. This is America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to be here. I hope this is not the only session we have, because I think there's more that we need to be told of. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I reserve.
Senator Lord will now be recognized to make his closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, as my also as my colleague from Louisiana has said, we have seen a lot of lies today. We have seen government officials, pardon me, not even government officials, elected officials who've been entrusted by their constituents of their state with executive powers, such as the governor of California. We have seen I don't know, come up here and spread lies regarding the situation that's happened within its great state. We have seen them come up here be hostile with members of this great committee who are just trying to get to the truth of the matter on why the hell we have lost so many American lives in this attack. Well, I think today we found the reason. Incompetence. Gross incompetence and gross negligence. The reasons of which lives have been lost, the reasons of which the people of California are still reeling from these losses. Because their governor doesn't know how to govern. It's because of that they have seen lives being lost. It's because of that they have seen families lose people at the dining room table. And to call a state of Pennsylvania to say F them when, and this is striking me to say, when they're doing well better off than California right now. This is just madness. And for the vice president, the first person in line to the presidency, mind you, to come up here and did what he said, talking about he doesn't know where the president's going, said he's going to Indiana or Indy. Quite frankly, I have never seen such incompetence at such high levels in my career. I'll say that. I have never seen such gross incompetence in my career. Something's got, as the kids say, something's got to give and something's got to get done in order to first of all get to the bottom of this orange deal. To second of all, stop these officials from ever serving in public office again. And third of all, actually making sure that the American people can trust the government again. Because I'm sure after this whole fiasco, after this, and pardon my language again, Mr. Chairman, after this shit show that we have seen before this committee today, several witnesses lying, just acting a fool, I am sure the American people have lost faith, have lost trust, and have lost confidence within their elected leaders. It is up to us to restore that confidence. It is up to us to get to the bottom of this. It is up to us to make sure that these corrupted government officials can never be entrusted with the keys to power again. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. Senator Cayden, do you have any closing remarks? I'm just going to take you down. You haven't spoke this whole committee session. Senator Kenneth Belair, do you have any closing remarks?
They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. America, what you have just witnessed in this committee hearing is not only liars, you've witnessed thieves, you've witnessed people who are dishonest, you've witnessed people who will take an oath and then defy it within a minute. But another thing you've witnessed is just how pitiful the Democratic Party is. You've had members, I'm not saying that senators should, fall in line with criminals. But I do think that, my colleagues across the aisle have turned on both the president, the vice president, the secretary of defense, the governor, and everybody else. And it just showed us that they don't need to be nowhere near the Oval Office. They don't need to be running this country. Hell, they are going to turn this country into a country in Africa, or like Haiti. We're going to be like Haiti, where they killed their president and now they have no government. So To end this, follow the law and vote red and up and down the ballot. Thank you.
That's right, MAGA.
The gentleman yields. I will now recognize myself for my closing statements following today's hearing. What we have witnessed today has revealed more about the state of this administration than any of us could have imagined. At the last committee hearing last night, I made note that nobody is above the law and that I, in my position as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, will do anything and everything in my power as the leading force in this investigation to find the truth, uncover the truth, and deliver the truth to the American people. And I believe that's what I have done during today's committee session. When I subpoenaed the president, vice president, governor, and other officials, I made it clear that I did not care if your party affiliation was Democrat. I didn't care if you was a Republican. I didn't care if you were purple. I didn't care if you were white. I didn't care if you were black. I didn't care what you had next to your name. All I cared about was what happened, what led to the dangerous involvement of cartels getting military-grade weapons, and now what led to the death of 12 officers and many more. So I have said that since the beginning, and that is my duty. I serve no president. I serve no party. I serve every person in America. I serve all of California, and I am a senator for all of America, and that is my duty. As chairman of this committee, I just sorry. We have seen a governor who has came before this committee and lied, a secretary of defense who shockingly admits that he didn't know what was going on in his own department, and unfortunately, a vice president who has made a mockery of this process, treating the American people with disdain. And then there's the president, the one person who should have been here to face the American people and the answers for his administration's failure, who didn't even bother to show up and do his job. Let me be clear. This is just not about one scandal. This is about a pattern of negligence, deceit, and contempt of very principles that undermine and underpin our democracies. The people of this nation deserve accountability. They deserve answers. They deserve leadership that will take responsibility, not leadership that hides behind excuses, empty rhetoric, or outright avoidance. Governor DuPont lied to us. She betrayed the trust of her constituents and this body. Secretary Rumsfeld shockingly lacks awareness of the illegal actions taking place under his watch is a dereliction of duty. The vice president's dismissive attitude towards the gravity of this scandal is an insult to the office that he holds. And then the president's absence. His refusal to even acknowledge the questions and concerns that the people have is a affront to the principles of transparency and accountability in the foundation of this republic. This administration has demonstrated a shockingly lack of leadership, integrity, and respect for the American people. When the president refuses to show up, when the vice president makes excuses, when the Secretary of Defense shrinks responsibility, and when the governor of California openly lies, what do we tell the citizens of this country? This is not just a failure of individuals, it's a failure of a system under their watch, which is supposed to protect and defend every citizen. And it should disgust every single one of us in this room. Regardless of party or ideology. This committee will not stop today. We will continue to demand accountability. We will continue to expose the truth no matter how uncomfortable it gets. But I have a clear bias and moral standing in this situation. I will not let my bias interflict with my duty, which is why I will be removing myself from the Alexander campaign effectively, immediately. I don't see how we can move forward as a party or as a campaign under this circumstance. I trust maybe that Raymond or somebody else will make another decision for a different running mate, but I will continue to serve in my capacity as a senator. Nevertheless, I will not join another ticket and I will not run for president. I'll continue to do my job as a United States Senator and chairman of this committee. This is a dark day for our nation, but for me, it's a call to action. The failures that we have witnessed today demand change, and I promise you this. This committee will not rest until we deliver. I thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. I thank the witnesses who have appeared before this committee, even those who disappointed us. And I thank the American people for their patience and unwavering commitment to the values that make this country great. This hearing may be the ending, but the next will be the start. I look forward to continuing this investigation, which charges will be referred to the Department of Justice on behalf of my office. There will be charges filed against the president for his dereliction of duty, as well as him directly disobeying a subpoena in which he did not let anybody know, not even my office, that he was invoking executive privilege. There will be criminal charges referred to the Department of Justice following the governor's despicable and disgusting lying to this very committee. I have an obligation first and foremost to the American people. I will deliver the United States House of Representatives with any and all information that I have found following today's hearing, whether that be impeachment of the whole entire administration or impeachment of the president or vice president, in or both. Washington, D.C. is in a very, very dark period. So without objection, this committee is adjourned until the committee meets and finds a date valuable to everybody. I thank you all for coming today. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless these United States. Thank you so much.